And then on another note, the water would sometimes be ice cold for hours at a time, which isn't that strange, I guess. But on top of everything else, I have to take a green shower and a cold one. I can't even be living in a warm swamp. It's Nicole. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. This is the part 2 of my apartment from hell story time. If you have not watched part 1 already, I highly suggest you do so, and I will link it here. Basically where we left off was the ceiling fan breaking and all of that happening and getting it fixed and the process of that. So we will be getting right back into the story about things that happened like sophomore year and just what other situations that we had to deal with. Make sure to give this video a big thumbs up before we get in, and hit subscribe, and let me know if you want to see more story times down in the comments below. So yeah, let's get back into it. The green water. So I would have these days that I like to call 12-hour Tuesdays because that's what they were. I was in class and rehearsals for 12 hours every Tuesday. So I would get home from class and I would pass out, and then I would wake up, eat really quickly, take a shower or a bath, and go back to bed. So I get up from my nap on one of my 12-hour Tuesdays, and I had Dylan over on this day, and Jesse was in the living room, and I go into the bathroom and I start filling up the bathtub, and the water is just green. If I have a picture, I'll insert it. So I call emergency maintenance because I am scared. I don't want to get in that water. And so maintenance shows up to fix it, and they come and they just run the water for a very long time until it turns clear again. And so they show up and they see the water because I left it full in both the sink and the bathtub so they could see that I was not lying. I constantly felt like I had to be like proving something to maintenance. They wouldn't believe me if things were broken. Like I felt like I had to do like intensive research on why something was broken because they would try to tell me that it was not broken when it was very obviously broken right in front of our goddamn faces. So maintenance shows up, they run the water, and they show up and they see the green water sitting in the bathtub, and one of them says to the other, "Well, I guess that looks a little dirty." Jesse's in the corner looking like this, wondering what classifies as very dirty for you. And then on another note, the water would sometimes be ice cold for hours at a time, which isn't that strange, I guess. But on top of everything else, I have to take a green shower and a cold one. I can't even be living in a warm swamp. And keep in mind, the one time that my water was cold in this apartment, I called maintenance about it, and they came out and replaced my water heater, and it never happened again. They replaced it, no questions asked, no fights instigated, no arguing, no touchscreen cell phones at Walmart. They just replaced my water heater, and that was the end of the story. So this is about everything that had happened freshman year. And so we moved back in for sophomore year, and the very first day we were there, I opened the dryer and it was filled with water. It was just dripping wet. It was raining in there, and even if we left the dryer door open, it would still just be accumulating water. I have no idea where it was coming from, so I called maintenance about it because my mom told me I have to, even though I was trying to do everything within my capabilities to keep maintenance out of my apartment at this point because I absolutely hated these men. So maintenance came and they vacuumed up a whole bunch of lint in the dryer, and that fixed it somehow, and Jesse and I were in class when this happened. But we get home and there is an absolutely huge mess everywhere, which made us very angry because I had just cleaned the entire kitchen that weekend. I think I have a very angry Facebook status that I posted about it. I'll insert it here if I find it. So the Facebook status reminded me of this, but they not only had like the maintenance goo everywhere, but they had muddy handprints on the floor. Handprints on the floor. Like, what are you doing on the floor? Like, on your hands? What? I want to know what this looked like. In the kitchen, there was dried on what I like to call maintenance goo because I have no idea what the hell it was. It was just dried on clear goo looking stuff, but it was hard all over the kitchen floor, and we couldn't clean it off. It was still there when I moved out. It's probably still there right now. So we couldn't get it off, and they also had dryer lint scattered all over our kitchen. I don't know if this was out of like anger that the trash can wasn't conveniently in the laundry room for them, but they had dragged all this dryer lint to that trash can and just kind of threw it everywhere on the way there. Like, I guess they didn't care if it really ended up in the trash can, but they could have moved the trash can into the laundry room if it was that deep. Basically, they would constantly make huge messes in that apartment. Anytime I called, I wanted to kill them. They would get my rugs in the bathroom so muddy, and we didn't have a utility cap. It was all included in the bill, so that was fine, but I still had to wash them every single time they came, which sometimes was every single day. So I eventually, you know, I was like, we can't have rugs in here. And they would write us notes on our goddamn paper plates. Like, you can't use a napkin, you can't bring your own paper, you have to write us a note on your paper plate that we can't even read because the handwriting is that bad. Like, is your name Carl or is it Cake? because it looks like cake. Maintenance ding dong ditching us. So I can't remember if this was freshman year or sophomore year, but Jesse and I would constantly, for at least a few days in a row, somebody would be knocking on our door, and by the time we answered it, they would be gone. Eventually one day I was in class and Jesse got up very quickly to answer it because she wanted to see who it was, and it was maintenance. Yeah, we've been trying to come down here for a few days now, but nobody answered the door. We want to replace your air filter. We gotta go around and replace all the air filters in all the apartments. Like, we spent the last 3 days trying to... We lived on the 3rd floor, and for them to knock on the door and us to answer, within 10 seconds, they had to have been running away from the door and down the stairs. Like, if you wanted to replace our air filter that bad, like, you would have waited for us to answer the door. They were definitely running away from our front door. And then another weird experience that I just want to blame on maintenance because I feel like, who else would it be? I think it was 2 mornings in a row. I would leave for class before Jesse did, and I would open our front door. I open the door and there's this huge crash in front of me, and I get scared, and it turns out it is a large Whataburger cup filled with water that just was balanced on our door handle on the outside, so when I turned the handle, it would, you know, the water cup would fall and it would crash and it would scare me. So this cup of water falls and it crashes down onto the floor, and I thought that someone had thrown something at me, so I'm looking out the door like trying to catch who did it, and no one is there. And then the next day, the very same thing happened. Someone took the exact same cup because I didn't move it. I just wanted to get to class. And so the very same Whataburger cup is again filled with water and sitting on the door handle so that when I open it, it crashes to the ground. This only happened twice and it never happened again. My theory is either maintenance or the people under us who were smoking, but I don't understand how they would know it was us who was complaining about their smoking. It was Jack. And I did talk to some other on-campus students about their experience with maintenance. We began to develop a spider problem 2nd semester freshman year. I asked my CM about it, and she said she had a spider problem herself in her 1st floor apartment, and she had maintenance come and spray. It did nothing, surprise, and so she had to take care of it herself and get it sprayed herself because it was a full-on infestation. Luckily, Jesse and I bought some Raid and we were able to handle it ourselves. I don't know, that's another little tidbit. And then Jesse was talking to a classmate of hers about maintenance, and she said she woke up one morning and maintenance was just in her apartment vacuuming. She never called them. She just woke up to them vacuuming uninvited. And this kind of made me a little salty because at least they're cleaning up after themselves if they were doing anything. If they just came to clean your apartment, like, God, I wish I could, like, teach me your ways. Like, how do I get them to do that? So I'm editing right now and I realized I forgot a little tidbit. So we had a friend that we went to high school with who also was going to the same college, and she was also in another apartment on campus that was like a 4-bedroom apartment. And she and her roommates were having issues with their water heater. They had 2 bathrooms in their apartment, but their water heater would either be freezing cold or they would end up having to take like scalding hot showers. And at first the water was only coming out freezing cold, and so they called maintenance to come replace their water heater. And they came and like fought with them and wouldn't believe them about their water heater being cold. And so they had to take cold showers or use the other bathroom for a good while. And then the only way they could get them to actually replace the water heater was when the water would switch from freezing cold to absolutely scalding hot. And that was the only way they got maintenance to believe them as far as with that issue. So just another little, just some more information for you guys. And the very last section of things that were awful about this apartment that are unrelated to just how straight up breakable the whole thing was. And I'm not saying it was necessarily cursed or anything. We joke about this, but like, I don't think I really like believe in ghosts and curses, and like, I don't know, I think it was just an exceptionally breakable apartment. Part of me also kind of thinks maybe it was constructed specifically to terrorize its tenants, but I am a woman of science. I don't really think it was haunted or cursed. And it honestly could have been just how unhappy we both were in this apartment. We did have a really good experience living together, which everybody told us we were gonna like hate each other after we like lived together, which I think we would have if we were in a dorm. We probably wouldn't be speaking right now. But since we were in an apartment, it was very like we each had our own space and everything. But anyways, we were both still like not feeling too good in this apartment. I was super stressed out and spread way too thin as far as my schedule my first 2 years of college. And Jessie was just having like an issue dealing with college in general and trying to get herself to go to class. So basically there definitely were just a lot of negative feelings in both of us about this apartment. And so first of all, when I really think about the temperature skyrocketing in the winter, this doesn't make any sense to me because the AC would work when it was hot outside, but when it was cold outside, it would just become unbearably hot. And you cannot tell me it's because the insulation was that good. Like we had windows falling out of windows, for God's sake. Like it should have been a little drafty. After looking through all these things I experienced in this apartment, like just remembering how I felt when I lived there, I would have the most insane anxious dreams dreams, which very well could have been stress related, but I also was significantly stressed last semester due to the kind of classes I was taking, and this just didn't happen in this apartment. Like, this apartment just makes me feel so much more calm. This place definitely has its faults, and if I told you guys about them, you'd probably think this one was like definitely terrible, but you also have to think about what I have to compare it to. Like, things in here are sturdy. Sometimes bad things happen, but maintenance is very competent and very professional, which I do not take for granted. So basically about these dreams, let me just read one to you. So this is a dream I had while I was living in that apartment, and I sent the entire synopsis of what happened in this dream to Jessie, and let me just read this for you. Preface, I lived there for one extra semester than Jessie did. So this is the dream. Basically, you were still living here, and you were telling me this rumor you heard that Res Life is secretly a cult that sends these trained dogs out to suffocate residents in their sleep. And I was like, I don't know how much I believe that, like, it's ridiculous. And I was napping one day and I saw my bedroom door slightly moving open and closed, like it was windy. And I thought it was maintenance being weird, so I go, excuse me? Which is kind of weird, like, why didn't I say, like, who goes there? I get no response, so I assume it's the wind, and I roll back over, and suddenly, this giant dog that's like a German Shepherd mix is jumping on me, trying to suffocate me, literally in the exact same way as you had described. And I just was not breathing, thinking Jessie was right. Oh my god, I'm going to die. But I somehow managed to overcome him and was like strangling him back. And I thought I'd killed him, but later found out he was just unconscious and these dogs are like of a completely different breed. So I picked him up by the back legs and carried him to the community center mad as hell. Like, inconvenienced, I got woken up and just pissed. Like, how fucking rude can you get? And I thought I was going to be on their hit list the moment I arrived, since I knew their secret, so I was literally telling everyone I knew who was outside as I walked there, so people would know why if something happened to me. So I get there and I'm just laying into this girl at the front desk and she has no idea what's going on. Then it kind of flashes to later on, you threw a party for me in the apartment that was like Res Life tried to kill Nicole and now she's probably on their hit list, so let's make her feel better. My subconscious, while I was living there, like, I was thinking I was gonna be like strangled in my sleep, and I would have these dreams that were very surreal of me being in that apartment and like just these awful things happening, or like someone being out for my life. Another weird occurrence that would happen in there was I would be in the bathtub and I would hear Jessie outside of the door, specifically Jessie's voice, saying my name. And I know that's not that unusual, like if I were to have the fan on and like if I were pulling sounds out of the white noise or something, like my mind was playing tricks on me, but I'm not one of those people that like that happens to. Like, it was only in that apartment. I've never had it happen here, which I was kind of afraid would because I live alone. I just expected it to be a little spookier, but I don't feel like people are like breaking into my apartment or like I hear voices in the living room. But yeah, I would hear specifically Jessie's voice saying, Nicole, Nicole, like outside of the door. And I would say like, what do you need? And I would text her and she would say, what are you talking about? I'm in my bed. And then she would start to hear, which I don't know if it was just like us playing off of each other and like working each other up, but she would hear things and then we both would be locked, me in the bathroom and her in her bedroom, and we would just be like thinking we hear it in the living room but like too scared to check. But this is another occurrence that like could be boiled down to like us both feeling terrible living there and like our minds playing tricks on us. Something that has a little more validity to like this place was weird is doors just slamming shut. And I do have kind of a theory for why this was happening, but basically anytime the AC would kick on, doors would slam shut. Like, I remember one morning specifically, I got out of bed, I went to the bathroom, and I came back to my bedroom and I sat down to put my contacts in, and my back was to the door and I had left it open. And so I'm sitting there and I'm putting contacts in, and suddenly the AC kicks on and my door just slams shut. And I was so scared, like I thought somebody had to have slammed it. Like, that's not, it was so loud. Like, somebody slammed that freaking door. Like, that was a person who slammed the door. Like, it's slammed. Like, the AC doesn't just slam the door. Or another weird thing that Dylan and Jessie and I all witnessed together was Dylan was cooking bacon one time and it was like smoking up our apartment, so he opened the balcony door to air it out. And I went to leave, and so I opened the front door. And I think it was the second I opened the front door, the balcony door slammed shut. And I guess this could be explained with like drafts. I'm trying so hard to rationalize this, but I just really, a draft, slamming a door, like that is one vengeful draft. But to slam shut from the AC kicking on. I've never experienced that. Like, I don't know, just the construction of the way it was laid out or something. I don't know. Have your doors ever slammed shut when the AC kicks on? Let me know in the comments, because I've never seen that in my life. It doesn't happen here. It doesn't happen to my parents. It's never happened. And then there was a period where for weeks at a time, I was waking up at exactly 5 in the morning, feeling insanely anxious, stressed out, and like somebody was watching me. Now, this isn't that like 3 in the morning witching hour thing, and luckily I wasn't having any sleep paralysis, but it was still just, I would wake up with the most awful feeling. Like, I didn't want to go to bed at night. Like, I wanted to stay up past 5 in the morning and then just fall asleep whenever, so that I could avoid being woken up by whatever at this time period and feeling like that, because it was the most awful feeling. All of these things very well could have been like psychological, as I said, but the temperature and the freaking slamming doors, I really don't know what to tell you. So I don't know, take those how you will. And constantly having to deal with maintenance like that, and then being in our home, and just, it was the most stressful experience, and I can understand how that could like psychologically take a toll on us.
So I forgot to mention 2 other little things. So when Jessie moved out, I had one of our other friends move into her bedroom so that I wouldn't have like a random roommate put in, and she tried to get all of her keys that we were supposed to have. We had a front door key, a bedroom key, and then a mailbox key, and they refused to give this new roommate the bedroom key. They said that the old roommate had like lost it or something, when I know for a fact that Jessie turned it in. Like, I know who, so I don't know, that girl's still living there, and I don't know if she even has her bedroom key, and they're probably never going to give it to her, if we're being real here. And another thing was, I think it was when maintenance came for the dryer, they turned our heater on, and it was, I think, 90 or 100 degrees outside. It was in September. So they came and they turned our heater on while they were working on it. And Jessie's room was a lot hotter than mine. It just like naturally was that way. Her room was so hot when we showed up at home, obviously because the heater was on when it's 90 degrees. And then I walk into my bedroom, and mine is, you know, a little toasty, but also there was a smell of like a dead thing, and I don't know if it was like something very well could have died in my walls. Maybe the heat like brought it out, but for like a couple days after that, there was just this like dead thing smell in my room.
Another thing that really pisses me off about having to live in this apartment was that with on-campus housing situations, there is not an option to see reviews from past tenants on some kind of like Yelp page, or there's no place to leave online reviews to share your experience living there. If I would have known that this is how things were going to go, like, I have never seen, if I could write a review on this res hall, the whole thing just feels deceitful. And like, the maintenance team would be a lot better if students were leaving reviews, okay? That's just all I'm gonna say. And I think that is my entire maintenance story, apartment from hell story time. This didn't take as much out of me as I thought it would, because it's been so long, I think, by this point, that like, I have to look back and laugh on these things, otherwise I'm going to lose my mind. And now that I'm out of there, like, realizing that I can be in an apartment where these things just don't happen like that, and like, when something breaks, you can have it fixed, which isn't a lot to ask for, but it's new to me. I'm in this apartment and I'm thriving. Yeah, now I'm going to insert the song, and I think that's it. So this is a little song I wrote about that whole ordeal called maintenance. And actually, if you want to know exactly where in the story that I wrote this song, it was right after finding all of the water in the dryer. And I was getting very fed up with it, and I walked up to Jessie and I screamed at her, "The washing machine caught on fire. There's water in the dryer." And then that is how the very first line of the chorus was born. It wrote itself, basically. So here is maintenance. Well, I was starting freshman year, so glad to finally be here, until green water slowly filled the room with an impending sense of doom. The washing machine caught on fire, there's water in the dryer, and with every step I take, another tile's sure to break. The toilet's coming off the ground, the window pane has fallen down. Another call, another day, another maintenance is headed my way. First name basis with all the guys, Randy, Jack, and Carl came to analyze. They're here about 5 days a week, but things continue washing machine caught on fire. There's water in the dryer, and with every step I take, another tile's sure to break. The toilet's coming off the ground, the window pane has fallen down. Another call, another day, another maintenance is headed my way. Thought not living in a dorm would be my favorite part, but little did I know it's called an apartment because it falls apart. The washing machine caught on fire, there's water in the dryer, and with every step I take, another tile's sure to break. The toilet's coming off the ground, the window pane has fallen down. Another call, another day, another maintenance is headed my way. Jessie was the first person I showed that song to, and she was laughing her ass off. When I first wrote it, I couldn't get through it without laughing. But yeah, this was my first time doing a story time, and these are the kind of things that I wanted to be posting on my YouTube channel when I started it. Like, I really enjoyed doing the other kind of stuff that I've done, but yeah, I've had a lot of crazy shit happen to me, and it's not even like I go to parties or do like crazy stuff. Like, I literally am just a girl trying to go to class. Comment your worst apartment stories down below if you have any. We can cope together. Make sure you give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it, and hit subscribe down below if you haven't already. And please let me know if you want more story times, like what kind of videos you guys want to see. If this is something you really like, I definitely have a ton of stories that I want to tell, but I can kind of front load them more so that you guys get more of them faster if you'd like to. But yeah, let me know what kind of videos you want to see. I post every Sunday, and I think that's it. I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye. I know that we would run away to an island